Good morning. This is Faith at Faith and Books. It is about 7:30 on a very chilly Sunday morning. I think it's 20 degrees out right now, and I'm sitting in the parking lot of a park that's near by my house. I was here once before in November or something. But anyway, I thought I would give a quick update. This week has been kind of complicated. Personally, but it was a good reading week. I had a really good start, so I'm trying to hold this steady. I'm just holding it. I just want to talk about what I'm reading real quick. So I was going to give Flannery O'Connor another try, and so I did. I read the first 7 stories in this book of her collected stories, complete stories, and I hate to disagree with Christy Lewis and Noah and everyone who loves Flannery O'Connor, but at least when it comes to her short stories, see, that's the only taste of her that I've had, exposure that I've had. But I don't appreciate her. I mean, I know technically she's a good writer, and I've heard what the purpose is for her stories, but I don't get it. To me, they are very depressing. It's like she's clubbing me over the head with how ignorant and twisted and distorted and petty people can be. People are basically pathetic. And she writes in a very disorienting way, so you're just trying to keep up with what's actually going on. You're just thrust into these people's lives in a particular situation that happens, and all these kind of crazy things happen, and they're always very bigoted, and it's just, and it's disorienting, and then that's it, and then it ends, and there's no resolution. Sometimes it ends with the person just, some sort of event happens that throws them for a loop, and they're disoriented too. And apparently she's doing this in the name of Christian realism, but if you don't know her framework and you just read the story, you have no idea what she's trying to do. Everything's highly symbolic, I think, but it's very oblique, so I don't know what the symbolism is. And I feel like as a writer, she's trying really, really hard to impress me. I don't feel like she's actually trying to treat me as a fellow human being. I think human beings are all symbolic to her. And I don't know, I kept comparing her to like C.S. Lewis, who's also this Christian writer. And I would say he's pretty realistic in a way, where he talks about sin and all that sort of stuff. And I don't always get on with C.S. Lewis. There are times, there are certain books that I don't, I'm not a big fan of. And then others where I'm really blown away by him. But he at least is clearer, and he's treating me as a fellow human being who doesn't need to be whacked over the head, but can be reasoned with, can be talked to. And yeah, I think he's just way more effective. I think one reason why Flannery O'Connor might appeal to people is the fact that you feel like you're in the elite group because you get her, maybe. I feel like I have to hand in my Catholic card, because I don't get her. And it's not that I don't appreciate her technical ability to write. I do. I get that. I just don't want to be hit over the head 7 times, with her bizarre take on, I don't know. And if I were truly Southern, I would be a little bit upset at her character. Everybody's like at the level of Deliverance or something. I don't know. It just doesn't. I mean, one thing that I do think is good about her is that part of sin is being really bigoted. Like, there's just the total cognitive dissonance of bigotry when you live in a world where there are lots and lots of Black Americans, like you do in the South, and you have all sorts of positive interactions with them, and then at the same time you're trying to keep them down as a group, and that is just weird and dysfunctional, and she points that out. Although, you know, every single story has the N-word in it, and so that's a little bit, you know, abrasive to read. So I don't know. I don't get Flannery O'Connor. Now, I know I'm only looking at her short stories and only 7 of them. So maybe this is totally unfair. However, I have no desire to read her novels. Maybe in a novel form, it's more drawn out and it's less like being clubbed over the head. I don't know, but I don't want to read them. The one thing I would like to read is maybe her letters that Christy Lewis is reading right now for the Flannery of January, because maybe she's one of those people that I'd rather read about than actually read her work, you know, or maybe I need to get to know her first before I can appreciate her work. But I just don't connect with her. I really don't. And so for now, I mean, I gave it the old college try. I did. I wanted to be open-minded, and it just isn't there for me. So, sorry, Flannery. And sorry, all you fans of Flannery, including Bishop Barron, who loves her. And I'm not good. So anyway, so that was not so good. But I've been reading other things. I started reading Mima by Daniel Mangara. This is from Gabon, or Gabon, I don't know how you say it, Gabon. And I am, how far have I gotten? I'm only page 46. But it's really interesting. He's writing about his mother, and at first it starts out where it's very affectionate, but then you find out that this mother was really complicated, and she had this ferocious, almost supernatural anger. And there's a lot of foreboding. So, because he's writing this like the mother's gone already. And so something cataclysmic is going to happen. You can tell. The writing style is it's like kind of like that high way of telling folk stories, you know. I don't know if I can describe it, but it's very poetical and lyrical, but at the same time simple. So it's an interesting book, and I'm enjoying it. So I think Gabon doesn't play until, do they play today or tomorrow? I think it's tomorrow. What is today? Is today the 9th? I don't even know what day it is today. Anyway, so that's interesting. We started our City of God. Sorry for shaking the phone. City of God, and I'm really enjoying that. Not everybody is piping up, so I want to get a feel for who's feeling overwhelmed or maybe taking a while to get into Augustine and who isn't. I mean, I know who isn't because they're chatting. But I'm enjoying that. We're talking about suicide and what, you know, why Christians have a different perspective on suicide than pagans. So I'm enjoying City of God a lot. And then I am reading Felix Holt. And I have no idea what this story's about. So I'm just, you know, I really have no idea. And I'm resisting the urge to go to Wikipedia or something and get a summary of it. But, and I'm not actually reading it from this book. I'm just, in fact, this bookmark isn't in the right place. But I'm reading on my Kindle. I mean, it's not showing like the page number or the percentage read. I just want to get a feel for where I am. So I'm reading it on the Kindle, but then I'll go and I'll look here to see how far I've gotten. But I haven't done that for a few days. So I know I'm further than page 104. I'm probably 50 pages further. Oops, that sun, it's always doing that. So really enjoying this, really enjoying her writing. There's nobody though that's very lovable in this book except for Mr. Lyons. Mr. Lyons seems lovable. His daughter seems okay, but she's got to grow up. Felix Holt himself is kind of a jerk. I mean, he's way too blunt and judgmental on everybody. Though he's smart and he's got a good heart and everything. So yeah, so that's really interesting. It's a political novel, so he's considering himself a radical. So this is during the early 1800s when there were these reform bills going through to sort of widen the franchise, I believe, and he's considering himself radical, and he actually is. Like, he's rejected being upper class, like trying to move up in the system, and he's settled to be a watchmaker, which is a tradesman, and he's very opinionated about reforms that need to happen. And then I think he's going to be contrasted against this wealthier guy, sort of landed gentry, who I don't know why he's radical. He's radical to be different, but he actually isn't radical at all. He's very much he's very arrogant and sure of himself and impatient with everyone else, and very sure of his own privilege. So it's weird that he's going as a radical, and I don't quite understand that. But it's an interesting novel, and I'm really enjoying the writing. She's a beautiful writer. And then I started listening to Anabasis, how do you say that? I don't know, by Xenophon. So that's the story of, this is from ancient Greece, the story of the mercenary Greek soldiers. There was a bunch of different types of soldiers, I guess mostly Greek, who were fighting for Cyrus. Cyrus was in revolt against his older brother, who was the king, and they get trapped in the middle of is it Persia or somewhere? They get trapped, and Cyrus is killed, and this is his band of army has to get out of hostile territory, and they march to the sea. They have to get to the sea. And it's a very famous story. And I had read it a couple of times in this children's retelling from, I think, the 1950s, called The Exploits of Xenophon. And it's written by, I think his name's Jeffrey Household. Jeffrey Household. And he's made his name, I think, as maybe he wrote spy stories or something. He was a popular writer in England, I think in the 50s maybe. But so he wrote this, and it's really, really well told. It's much simplified. So the one I'm listening to is just on LibriVox, and it goes into a lot more detail about how they got there before Cyrus died. This sort of just starts off with that and then focuses on the march. But I've been listening to that, and this has been a bad week. We had snow, and so the little 6-year-old didn't have any school this week. Everything was canceled, which was kind of fine because COVID is really surging, but he's going back to school Monday, so we'll see what's going to happen. I'm nervous. My daughter is scheduled for a C-section on Friday, and I really don't want her or her son or anybody getting COVID, and if we get COVID, then we won't be able to go over and help and see the baby, so I'm nervous about that. But why did I start talking about that? Oh yeah, so I couldn't really go out to walk. They didn't really clear the sidewalks, and it's been icy, and I'm nervous about falling. And we usually walk every day, so that was hard. That made things really hard because we were cooped up. Though he went out and played. I got him. He didn't have snow pants, so I snagged him some snow pants off of Buy Nothing so he could go out and play. But so anyway, I couldn't go for a walk, and I wasn't driving him to school and back, which is when I would listen to my audio. So instead, I started getting on the exercise bike. Each of the chapters is about 22 minutes long, and I would just listen to it while I was on my exercise bike, and I really liked that. So I think I might stick to that too, and maybe I'll listen to it on my drives and when I do exercise. So Anabasis, and that is part of my focus on ancients. So I've always wanted to read that, the real thing, not the abridged children's retelling of it. And so I'm finally listening to that. And once again, I don't find the narration too bad. I don't find the readers bad on LibriVox so far. I mean, they do mispronounce things occasionally, and they're not professional, but they're fine. I think they're doing quite a fine job for a volunteer. So that's that. And then my last thing is I started a new Instagram channel called Faith Learns Latin, and I've decided to go through this book, Latin via Ovid, and I'm having so much fun. I'm really having fun. I didn't work on it this morning, so maybe I'll work on it some point today. Today I have a bunch of stuff to do though. So we were going to take down our Christmas tree today and all the decorations, but it's supposed to rain all day, and that's the dreariest job anyway. I think I might wait until next weekend. I'm just not in the mood. So anyway, so that's it for me. The only thing I haven't gotten a start on, and it's because the libraries were closed partially this week, is I haven't gotten my book for the Humorous Book of the Month Club. I'm still waiting on that. Those libraries being super slow. So I think that's Thank You, Jeeves. And some people have already finished it in the group, so hopefully I'll get that and I'll be able to add that into my reading. And I made my previous video, unusual for me lately is I made a video in the middle of the week, and I made up a tag in honor of Sidney Poitier, and then Mark at Book Time with Elvis kind of refined it for me. Thank you, Mark. And so that was kind of fun, and that was kind of neat. I'm still thinking a lot about Sidney Poitier, and I want to watch all his old movies. So all right, I think that's it from me, and I'm gonna run to the store, and I shouldn't go to the store on Sunday mornings, right? But it just happens that it works out that way. Anyway, all right, so take care. I hope you're doing well, and happy reading.